Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is a quick video to show to the parents how the Qa'ida assessment works. So this is for parents that are trying to help your children learn the Qa'ida. And likewise, if your children were in the Qur'an before, but now they've been moved to the Qa'ida, so this would be the reason why. So I'm going to do a quick brief, inshallah, to show the parents how the Qa'ida works and how we assess our students on the Qa'ida. So let's start with the alphabet, inshallah. And I'm going to try and keep this as brief as I possibly can. So over here, so first thing that we teach our children, or they must be able to do, is pronounce all of the letters correctly. So if a child is on the Qur'an, or they've halfway through the Qa'ida, but they cannot pronounce the letters correctly, then this is why the teacher will move them back. So let's start. Okay, let's just do this page, doesn't matter. So here, so for example, this is Alif, Ba, Ta, Th. If a child says Sa, then again, that would be wrong. Jim, this the child needs to pronounce it as a strong letter. So this will be Ha. So it has to come from the middle of the throat. Ha. And next one is Kha. So this is, we assess the children on the full mouth letters as well. So there are certain letters in the Arabic alphabet which are full mouth, or they're also regarded as heavy. So I'm going to put an F for full mouth on them. So here the child is expected to say Kha and not Kha. And then Dal, Dhal, making sure this is soft and not pronounced as Zal, Z sound. Dhal, soft. Ra, again, is heavy. Za is strong. Sin, Sheen, Sod is heavy. Dod is heavy. To, Dho, again, not pronounced as Zo. That's a common mistake. Zo. Ain, from the middle of the throat. Ghoin, heavy. Full mouth. Fa, Qaf, from the back of the mouth. Q sound. Q, and also heavy. Full mouth. Qaf, Kaf, Lam, Mim, Nun, Waw, Ha, Hamzah. The first assessment of the child is being able to pronounce the letters correctly. So if a child is, let's say, halfway through the Qa'ida, but they're making mistakes in these letters. For example, they're reading this as a Sa, or this as soft Ha, or this as a Zal, strong, or they're reading To, Zo. Yeah. So if they're making mistakes in any of these letters, that's why a teacher might pull them back. Now let's continue. So of course they need to be very proficient with these letters. They need to be able to recognize these letters without even thinking. Alif, Dal, Ra, Hamza, Ta, Ha, Waw, Sin, Ha, like that. And now let's move on. And again, so these are the short form of the letters, which they of course need to know properly, but we don't need to go through them now. Okay, next thing, the next criteria, or next assessment for the children is a harakat. So now these symbols, this red line on top, Fatha, bottom Kasra, this green one, Dhamma. So here, the assessment is, of course, let's look at the exercise over here. So a child is expected to, number one, of course, pronounce the letters correctly, as they learnt in the beginning. So ma, like that. Or ra, ma, ra, ja, ma, whatever it is, yeah? So of course, they're expected to pronounce the letters correctly, number one. Number two, those letters that were full mouth, they're expected to read them full mouth. And the empty mouth letters, they have to read empty mouth. For example, this ra over here was a full mouth letter. And the a and the ma are empty. So how they're expected to read is like this. A-ma-ro. So they make empty, empty, full. A-ma-ro. That's number one. So here they need to demonstrate that they can read the empty mouth letters as empty mouth. So a, ba, ta, th, ja, ha, like that. And the full mouth letters as full mouth, like this. Ro, ho, so, wo, to, wo, like that. Okay. And especially like the hard ones, we have to switch. So full, empty, full. So, de, ko. So full, empty, full. So, de, ko. Like that. Okay, so that's the first demonstration, or first assessment. The second thing is these harakat, so fatha, kasra, and dhamma. The second thing that we assess them on, and they need to get this right to pass, is that they need to be able to read them without stretching them. So, for example, this is how this box should sound. Amara, amara. A, quick. Ma is quick. Ra is quick. Amara. If a child reads amara, here the mistake was on the first one. So that's wrong. Amara, mistake on the second one. Amara, mistake on the last one. So if any of these letters are stretched, then that's a fail. And then to redo this lesson. So of course, to get them to practice, we get them to spell. So like this, a, then a new letter, ma, then join, ama, new letter, ra, join, amara, like that. So we get them to spell the Qa'ida, so they're able to practice this and really ingrain this in them. So this is the second assessment that we do. So the ability to read these, pronounce them properly, read full mouth letters as full mouth, empty mouth letters as empty mouth, and also read them without stretching. So for example, this one, a, quick, the, quick, join, the, quick, na, again quick, adina. See, I read all 3 letters without stretching. So when you assess your child, let's say your child's been moved back, test them on this. See if they're able to read them quickly and without stretching any letters. So if they read it as adina, mistake, adina, mistake, adina, mistake. So this needs to be, so this is the lesson 3, 4, and 5. Same thing. And of course, making sure the full math letters are full math. Like for example, khuliqo. So they should be able to say qo over here. If they say khulika, again, the teacher would circle and mark it wrong. Khuliqo. Here, dhulima. So if they read as zulima, then the teacher would circle, mark it wrong. So here, these are signs that the child needs to be gone back and they need to learn the letters correctly again. And if you look at your child's Qa'ida, once they read, you'll see the teacher will be marking them with circles. For example, if they got this wrong, there'll be a circle over here. There'll be a circle over here. So whatever mistakes that they make in the Qa'ida, you'll see that it's circled. So as a parent, when your child goes back to practice at home, you can see where their circles are and test them on their circle. Let's say you open page 13. Now there's 2 boxes with circles, which means they got these wrong in class and they need to go over them. So what you'll do as a parent, you'll open the page and you'll help your child read this. Khuliqo, making sure that the circled letter is now being corrected. Okay, so then here again, so lesson 6, 7, and 8 is to do with tanweens. So again, making sure that the letters are pronounced correctly, making sure that all of these letters are quick. So no one should read abadan or abadan. So every letter, abadan, should be read quickly. So that's the assessment over here. And again, the full mouth and empty mouth should also be correct as well. Okay, so let's move on. Now in lesson 9 onwards, that's when they're learning to stretch now. So here, what we look out for is only the stretched letters should be stretched and nothing else. For example, this is a dal with an alif. Only this there should be stretched, not the ta. So how it should sound is this. The ta. So the is long, ta is completely short, just like before. The ta. Here, kha is a full mouth letter. So hence they're going to read this full mouth with a stretch, and a fa is quick as before. Khofa, kan, qol, like that. So of course, when you get to lines 3, 4, 5, it gets a bit harder because there's more letters now. So here, only the stretched letter should be stretched. Let's use this as an example. This is thu. I'm going to spell it out as a child because every child, when they learn, they have to spell it out in class. Thu, ba. So this is the only stretched letter. So here, thu, quick, ba, long. Join, thubatin, quick, thubatin. So here, I didn't say thubatin. A child that's weak, they'll read it like this. Thubatin. So they'll make stretching mistakes, or they'll make haraka mistakes. They might read thubatan or thubatun, or they'll make a mistake here, thabatin. So this is weakness in the harakas, which means the teacher may put them back and get them to revise their harakas. Of course, it gets harder as you go along. Let's say here. So the only stretched letter is the waw. The rest of them should be quick. Fa, wa, ki, ha, ki, ha. Like this. Okay, and here again the stretching rules. So the standing fatha is stretched. Ala. Here the standing kasra is stretched. And the reverse dhamma is stretched. Ilafi. So making sure that they only stretch the stretching letters, and the letters that are not stretched, they do not stretch them. Let's move on. So then here, throughout the Qa'ida, the children will spell these words out to their teacher. So aw, ha. So again, making sure it's quick. Aw, ha, na. Aw, hana. So they'll say taw, a new letter, ba, join. Tawba, new letter, tan, join. Tawbatan, like that. Okay, so now moving on. So here, this is lesson 13, the stretching rule. So they need to basically do the stretch properly, and the rest of them should be quick. So it should be like this. U-ti, ya, u-tiya. So the only thing that was stretched for me was the u, and the ti and the ya was quick. So this is what they're demonstrating here. So they're demonstrating and how to use the stretching rule over here. So waw sakina stretches a dhamma. And here, they're just spelling out, so with a new rule, ayna. So they should be able to be good at spelling and make it quick. So here, again, there's a new stretching rule, lesson 15. So they need to demonstrate that they only stretch the stretching rule and nothing else. So for example, mu, quick. Bi, the ba is stretched by the ya sakina. Bi, and they join. Mubinin, mubinin. So here my letter pronunciation was correct, my harakas were done correctly, and my stretches were correct. A weaker student may read it like this. Mubinin, mu, they'll stretch the mu. So here, if they do that, the teacher will circle the dhamma over here, which means they got a mistake over here. So the mu has to be quick. Mubinin, moving on. So here again, it's a new lesson. So they're learning how to join words together. So again, they'll be tested on same things as before. Letter pronunciation, stretching and not stretching, full mouth, empty mouth. Same with lesson 25. Same with this as well. So here, there's a lot of things combined now. So these two letters will join. Mesh, you got the stretching rule. Hu, then they join. Mesh, hu, din. Mesh, hu, din. So they're tested on the stretching here. They're tested on the harakas, making sure they read the fatha properly, and the double kasra, the kasratain properly. So a lot of these things are being combined now. So of course, if they're struggling over here, the child is, let's say, reading mush, or they're not stretching the hu, which means the previous rules are weak, and the teacher may take them back to revise the previous rules and then bring them back to the same page. So, and let's say over here, so now they're learning the shaddas. So let's just use this as an example. So these are basically lessons are taught here. Let's just use this as an example. So here they need to demonstrate that they can read the shadda properly. So shadda means double letter. So here, a few things will come together. So number one is the full mouth. So we know that the sad is a full mouth letter, so it'll be read as sa and not a sa. Qaf is a full mouth letter, so it'll be read as a qa and not a ka. And then the dal has what you call a shadda, which means that it's a double dal. So when a child reads this, they have to demonstrate quite a number of things. That they know that the sad and qaf is full mouth, they know how to make the dal a double letter because of the shadda. And number two, they read the harakas correctly. So it should sound like this. So if I had to spell it out, Sod, da, sod, da. So I've read it as full mouth, so. And then qo, sod, da, qo. So I'm switching from full, empty, full. So, da, empty, da, qo. Sod, da, qo, like that. So lots of things that the child has to demonstrate that they picked up throughout the lessons. And if something is weak, let's say if the child is reading sa or saddaka, which means there's a weakness in the letters on the sad and the qaf, and they're demonstrating weakness in letters, full mouth, empty mouths throughout, then the teacher will have to take them back to the letter page, make sure that they revise the letters properly wherever it was. So make sure that they revise the letters properly, they know the full mouths again, they know the empty mouths again. And once that's done, then the teacher will bring them back onto this page and they'll continue for where they left off. Okay, let's move on. So now here, this is more or less the same thing, now just one or two rules added in terms of the muds. So now here, when they get to this page, now everything is coming together now. So they need to demonstrate the ability to spell, they need to demonstrate the knowledge of the harakas. So for example, let's spell one together, ra. I've demonstrated that this is full mouth by reading ra, and I've demonstrated I know that this is a fatha by reading as a ah sound, so ra. Now the next two letters are stretched, su. So I've demonstrated the rule that I've learned from before by stretching it, rasu, and I can spell correctly. So I'm not saying rasu, ra as a weak student would do. So here this ra is quick, ra, su, rasu. Now the lam will join to the mim because of the shadda, lum, rasulum, mi. So it's quick, mi, rasulum, mi, nallah, Rasulum minallah. I'm stretching the standing fatha as a rule that I've learned before. He is quick. See, when I read this, I demonstrated, number one, I know what all the harakas are. Fatha. I demonstrated the stretching rule with the dhamma and the waw sakina. I demonstrated I know how to read this. And I only stretched the stretching letters, which was a su and the la over here. Everything else was quick. A weak student would read like this. Rasu, so stretch over here. Rasulum mi. Mi, they'll stretch everything. Nallahi. So the stretches will be all over the place. Sometimes the harakas will be all over the place. They'll say Rasulam, Munal. So sometimes the weakness will be in the stretching. Sometimes it will be recognized in the harakas, and so on. So these are reasons why, if a child is consistently demonstrating that they don't know the harakas, they don't know the stretching rules. So hence, a teacher will not just get them to just read the lines again and again until they memorize them and they somehow finish the qaida. The teacher, what they'll do, they'll move them back and reinforce the haraka rule, the stretching rule, and then bring them back to this page. So many times, we have parents saying, okay, why is my child going back to this page? They were on this page. And because the focus of the parents many times is just to finish the qaida. That's what the parents want. But the parents many times, they don't understand finishing the qaida will not do anything if they do not know how to read at the end of the qaida. So the purpose is not to finish it anyhow. The purpose is to understand the rules that are supposed to be taught in the qaida, so that once you do finish it, you are able to read the Qur'an. And then, of course, in these, they're demonstrating just a few more additional rules, and everything just comes together. And once a child finishes the qaida with their teacher, then what happens next is that the head teacher will then test them on the qaida. And how the testing will work, what the head teacher will do, the head teacher will, number one, test them on their letters, and number two, the head teacher will take a random box and from each page, and then ask the child to read. So for example, over here, the head teacher will say to the child during the qaida test, right at the end after they completed the qaida, the head teacher will say, okay, read this box. And the child will have to read rafa'a, demonstrating that they know how to pronounce letters, number one. They will demonstrate that they know that the ra is full mouth, the rest are empty, rafa'a. The third thing that they'll demonstrate is that they can read this all quickly. Rafa'a, they don't read it as rafa'a or rafa'a or rafa'a, as the weak students will do. So that's what they're demonstrating. So the head teacher will just pick one box at random from each page, and to assess that the child has picked up all the rules along the qaida. Once the child demonstrates that they know all the rules that they're supposed to have picked up, then they will move on to reading the last 10 surahs with Fatiha to their teacher, and then they'll start from Surah Al-Baqarah in the Qur'an. So I hope this explains, inshallah. So if you had any concerns regarding your child's reading, or they weren't making progress as fast as they should have, or sometimes I get from parents, my child has already read the Qa'ida 2-3 times to previous teachers, so hence why are they still on the Qa'ida, or why have they been moved back to the Qa'ida? They're supposed to be in the Qur'an. The answer to that is, the reason why they would be moved back to the Qa'ida is if they are showing a lack of proficiency in either letter pronunciation, either the ability to recognize the harakas, the e, and the u sound, or lack of proficiency in stretching. So hence, if there's all of these mistakes are there, what happens is if they go onto the Qur'an with all of these mistakes just everywhere, then it's impossible for them to even read one line of the Qur'an correctly. And then, unfortunately, some teachers in places, what they'll do, despite all of these mistakes, they'll just let them read and read and read and read and read, and they may even finish the entire Qur'an, but the sad reality is they can't even read one line of the Qur'an correctly. But they would have just read the entire Qur'an anyhow. So of course we don't want that. We'd rather have them read a small amount, but read it perfectly and correctly. So I hope this explains, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.